you're honestly, Joe, if you're in jail and you have no access to stuff and you gotta do some stuff, who's stopping you from drawing a naked chick and then,
No one can stop you from making your imagination a reality.
that's
for
true.
sure.
So all of a sudden you
They
have
can
a porn.
take your freedom and they can't take your imagination.
No, then you have a porn collection that you drew yourself for yourself, and then after a while you could sell it to people. Huge business opportunity in jail. Just saying.
Yeah. It's one hand helping the other.
It's just one hand helping the other. That's exactly it. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Dylan and Joe Basement Podcast. As always, for the past over a year, it's the same host as before, Dylan
and Joe.
And it's been 45 years to the day since something mysterious has happened down south. Joe, you wanna let us know what was found?
To set the scene, it's the beautiful Georgian wilderness. Many parts of the state of Georgia, the state, not the country, by the way, we're in the United States, are untouched by city life. And on the side of a mountain, surrounded by a nature preserve, there is a cathedral built up called the Corpsewood Manor. It wasn't there many years before and many years after, but for a brief period of time, this artifice of brick and wood was built by a couple in the middle of the wilderness as their private sanctuary to do what they wished and to celebrate life and happiness and freedom as they saw fit. But that beautiful manor did not last forever. As we set the scene today, our story starts and ends at the manor called Corpsewood.
Corpsewood Manor by the Dylan and Joe Basement Podcast. Doesn't everybody just want to sometimes just run for the hills with lover with just to avoid some sort of escape from taxes, electric bills, gas bills, water bills,
society harping on you for who you are every day of your life?
Well, that too, absolutely. In this case, just you want to go somewhere to be yourself in absolute purity. Sure. And
enjoy the twilight years and the rest of your life with someone you love, and just kind of make your own way in the world and enjoy life to the fullest. It's kind of it's very seductive, the idea. I can see the appeal.
No, absolutely. Yeah, or just, you're just getting tired of watching your old neighborhood disintegrate into an urban ghetto, as our friend said. Why not just build a really crazy mansion full of gargoyles and quite gothic themed beauty,
paintings and
beautiful exterior symbols, all this stuff. So Joe, what I found is that this manor was owned by a doctor. Just like the ones you see here.
Yes, a doctor.
Like a Loyola University graduate doctor.
So he was a professor as well as a doctor of, I believe, psychology, or the way that the human mind works. This was Dr. Charles Schudder, or Scooter, as they called him in one documentary I watched, which I shut off immediately. They called it Scooter. The first one I ever watched, they said Scooter and Odom, and I go, oh, this sounds like two hick buddies from up in the hills. But when you change it to their actual names, which is Dr. Charles Schudder and Joseph Odom, okay, that's a little bit more clear on who they actually are.
You think they ever went by Chuck and Joe, or you think they went just strictly by Charles and Joseph?
I think they almost went certainly by Charles and Joseph once I got to know them a little bit.
No Charlie.
I saw, and anything I read, nothing refer to them as Chuck or Joe the entire time. It was also Joseph the whole time. I can see someone named Charles not wanting to be called Chuck because kind of a weird nickname to be called Charlie. But to have the name Joseph and not want to be called Joe, I cannot relate to that.
No, and if anyone knows, it's probably you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't
For
like to
anyone
be
who doesn't
called
know,
Joseph.
this is Joe
That's
from
me.
the podcast.
I guess Joseph usually is either a legal document or when I was in trouble as a kid. So when I hear that name, it doesn't really ring funny for me. It's more like, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
It is funny when you get like a new job or you meet someone new and you write your name down as Joseph because it's like an official thing.
Yeah.
And they'll call me Joseph for like the first 5 hours I meet them. And I go, you can call me Joe. And they go, oh, okay.
You know,
Like,
wow.
I only wrote
Right,
Joseph because it's a legal document or it's like an official job interview. I'm not going to write Joey, but you know, you don't have to call me Joseph the whole time.
Yeah.
Some people are just like that though, right? When you meet someone who's like, my name's David. I'm like, oh, hi, Dave. And he goes, it's David. And you go, okay, I won't make that mistake again.
Gotcha. So I cannot call you Hot Dog for short for David?
So you hate your nickname, huh?
And they say, no, I usually don't go by Hot Dog. It's just David for now. Go, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, so I've learned to be very conscious of that. But yeah, so I do believe it's Charles and Joseph, which is how they like to be referred, and I'll refer to them as that because they're not around to correct us anymore.
Don't spoil the story.
Well, I mean, they were older guys, and it's in the '80s, so you know how it goes for a lot of. Freddie Mercury wasn't that old.
It's true. That's true. Neither was anybody really who has had a good story.
Of course.
So. For specifically 45 years ago, it's 1976 when shit really went down. And to just add a little thing too, based off of my assistant just told me that Dr. Charles Scudder was he was a professor of pharmacology at Loyola.
Gotcha. Yeah, I knew he had to do with.
And for those who don't know,
substances.
That's the study of animals.
It's a study of how drugs affect the human body and mind.
That's it. Yes. You want to be a pharmacist, you're gonna go talk to Chuck.
That's hilarious though, because it's pharmacology, like you're raising cows and stuff. I just got it.
Yep, cows and pigs and little
pharmacology
that run around, whatever, you know.
The study of bales of hay.
Bales of hay. So, yeah, Dr. Charles Scudder. Professor of
How do you want to call him? You want to call him Shutter, Scudder? It's not Scooter. I know it's not Scooter.
I think, I mean, if you're giving me the option, I think whatever you want to call him within the realm of Scudder, Chuck, yeah. Charles, Charlie.
I think that it's probably, they would probably call him Shutter, but I bet it's probably Scudder because like that CH, like the hard CH.
Yeah, Scudder. Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, definitely. Anyways, he was a from anyone's definition, I'm not a crazy guy. His job of pharmacology at a university being a professor, all he said was it was a good job. Mm-hmm. That was by definition. And for those who know him, like I said, decent dude. He was brilliant, polished, soft spoken, but confident. And these are all the things people said to him before he decided to move to Corpsewood, have Corpsewood Manor built.
Yes. And I thought, interestingly, Georgia. As a little aside, I'm sure it's still hard to study pharmacology now, even in 2021, but especially in the 70s, 80s, and even before then, when you first started working at it, it's really tough to study drugs from any time after 1950s when they started making them all illegal as fast as they could, even just for medical research. So I'm sure a lot of the substances that were psychoactive or that were like on the cutting edge of pharmacology were banned from all use and were illegal to even study. That must have been kind of difficult for him going forward with his research.
Absolutely. I mean, to get some sort of government permission to use illicit or controlled substances of any sort.
They really started cracking down in the late 60s, early 70s from all research. I mean, I'm sure that thousands of colleges had all their assets seized because of the fact that they became on the scheduled federal drug list they weren't for recreation. They were being studied for medical research, and then they were considered illegal for any use, and then they were banned completely. So I'm sure a lot of colleges had to get rid of a lot of different experiments between the years of 1965 and 1975.
Ain't that true? So
I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Charles Scudder was one of them that had to get rid of his part of his research.
I think he
But
was.
I don't want to
Probably one
spoil
of.
anything.
Yeah, we're not going to get there. So,
We're not going to get there. You heard him, folks. We're just not going to get there.
well,
Just not
we're going
enough
to
time.
get there. We're going to get there. But so Dr. Charles Scudder, he left his worldly possessions and decided to go south with his boyfriend Joseph Odom.
Yeah. So that's another big part of the story. It's a couple of men, especially at that time period.
Yeah, a couple.
They were openly gay and were in a relationship, and they lived together in Chicago.
Yeah. Yep. Was it Chicago?
I believe so.
Yeah, it was. That's why I was so confused, because like I know Loyola, there's one in DC, isn't there? Am I just going crazy?
I'm not sure. I only know.
I know it's Chicago's Loyola University. They went from Chicago and then picked Georgia, which is a crazy place for two gay dudes in the 70s to go. I mean, it's a tough one.
Right. Yeah. If you were, I mean, it's got to be hard even to be gay in Chicago. Never mind Georgia.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly.
But I think the thought was probably, where can we get a nice area away from everybody else for a decent amount of money? We can kind of build our dream house on top of it. And you're not going to do that in the suburbs of Chicago. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But you could probably find a nice piece of land in Georgia that'll do just that.
Yeah, and as I always say, you meet a nice guy named Joe who puts it in your mouth or whatever it is, and you get used to that. Everyone's got different things and different people's things, and you fall in love with a guy named Joe. We all strive for that. And
when you catch lightning in a bottle, you don't let it go.
You don't let it go. Anyone
you hold on with both hands.
Everyone who knows that Joe knows that's how this goes. And and as Scudder said, after meeting Joe, within 2 short years, we were living in an elegant mini castle. Beat that. Guy named Joe, living together, elegant mini castle, away from people. And they
do with that what you will with that information.
Do what you will with that. Yep. Hopefully it happens to all of us.
So they actually decided to buy that land themselves. There was no home there to begin with.
Wasn't shit there, to be specifically. This is like
it was just a piece
northern
of
Georgia.
Piece it was very far away from even the small town that was nearby. It was very far from that. I mean, you had a long drive even to get to the property itself. Never mind that town was far away from anything else too. So it's like the isolated on top of the isolated. Yeah, and exactly. They decided not to hire contractors to build the place out. They built it themselves.
Yeah, which is
insane,
blowing when you look at this place. It's like
this guy
I can't even make a retaining wall out of fucking bricks. I can't imagine building a castle.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And these guys, I mean, they weren't like, professional contractors to begin with. I mean, this guy was a professor, and I can only assume that Joseph was a great cook and an even better lover, but I don't know anything about him swinging a hammer, but apparently they were really good at it. So you got to give them credit.
Yeah, no, they did good. And, but I think
this is big too. We'll show pictures of it on the pod, obviously.
Oh yeah.
It's a really big, they call it a manor for a reason. It's not a shack.
No, it's like, it's like in Casper when they go to Maine and live in the Casper house, like that type of shit. Only Casper's, I didn't think it was brick. It was like wood.
Yeah, no, this one is it's partially wood, but all the facades and like the main entrance and everything's all brick. So it looks like a big castle, like you said.
Oh yeah, doesn't fuck around.
And the gargoyles are not made of wood either.
Right? Yeah, they usually aren't.
Yeah, those are.
I mean, I don't know. Cool. I mean, there's definitely wooden gargoyles out there, but usually they're just
mostly stone.
Stone or cement or whatever. And it's called Corpsewood Manor because they're like, let's just fucking
make it the scariest name ever.
Yeah. Unrelated. It was because the bare autumn trees that were in the area were all corpsewood. Yeah. Classic being born in the 20s, 30s, or 40s way to name things, like so like for us to be like, yeah, let's name it Pikachu, fucking Five Guys, McDonald's land.
Yeah, exactly.
Like no one our days can handle being like actually responsible enough to name something Corpsewood Manor because of the trees in the area. It's like, yeah, I live in Dogwood Castle because there's dogwoods around. No, you just either name it after yourself because you're selfish and egotistical, or you do
Or you
something
sponsor it
stupid
out.
or
Yeah.
funny or sponsor it out. Yeah, literally anything else but something that makes actual sense, like Corpsewood Manor. But we'll see where
Yeah,
that
the Staples Center is changing their name to like the fucking NFT Bitcoin Coinbase Arena or something like that. So just an
Yeah,
example.
love
It
that.
keeps going.
Yeah, it was like
It's
back
something
when
like that. It's like fucking whatever it is. Crypto. It's called like the crypto arena or something like that. Crypto.com.
yeah, that's so almost
Lame.
embarrassing, and I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
Yeah,
almost as
like
lame as naming your stadium the Staples Center,
it's
like
pretty
the
bad.
Office Max Stadium.
Yeah, like does the city need that help?
No, but I think the ownership is probably like, well, we could get like
Billions of dollars
$50
for this.
million a year if we just change the name. So let's do that.
Yeah, but I'd be like, can you name it like the Staples Chicken House? Like, use something more interesting than the Staples Center.
Yeah,
Like,
one of the
you're gonna name it
worst
Staples.
ones.
Can you add something else in there? And like, if anything, it's gonna add more publicity to Staples, and everyone makes more money. If I have to say so myself.
Yeah, then just to call it the center. Yeah, one of the worst ones I hear is the old Boston Garden in the North End. It was called the Boston Garden, and then they changed it to the Fleet Center when Fleet
Yep.
Bank bought it, and then they changed it to the TD Bank North Garden. They thought they were being cool by calling it Garden again, but then they named it TD Bank North. And if you say a whole sentence before that, come on, get over it. Now they just call it the Garden, but it's really called the TD Garden.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Still
over
lame.
that. Like, can we just name things like in wow, talk about a brain fart. What's that fucking game where you jump out of the school bus?
What? It's a game where you jump out of a school bus?
Yeah, flying school bus, and you go shoot people. Fortnite. Um,
Oh my god, I would never guess that by those clues.
I know, but you know, how, like each area has like some weird name. Like, can we just start like let's
Name of
have some
that.
integrity as a country? Can we just start naming some shit that's not corporate based? Like,
I like the Chicago Bears Stadium is still called Soldier Field,
that's
even
fine.
after all this time.
Got nothing wrong with that. That's what I'm saying. You know,
It's
like
a
name
cool one.
stuff like video game names,
Soldier
and
Field.
it's all everything's a lot more fun. I'm like, let's go to the T. Oh yeah, me and her with the T Bank North Garden. No, as opposed to like
The
Soldier
Quicken
Field.
Loans Arena. That's another one.
Yeah,
Even
that's
has the
like
name alone in it.
that's great.
Like, come
That's
on.
great. Quicken Loans Arena.
Yeah.
And
The
like it's
Rocket
like,
Mortgage Arena. Like, okay, cool.
well, like it's one of those things where it's like no one can put a dollar in marketing, but it's like you're watching a basketball game and you're like, you know what, honey, let's buy a house or build a house in the woods in Georgia or something. You know, like let's do something like that. Oh my God, you think maybe we should just use Quicken Loans? I don't think anyone's ever in their fucking mind said that. Like, let's just do Quicken Loans. Actually, quite frankly, after getting a home loan,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even fucking think 2 seconds about Quicken Loans. That is literally for people who want to build a house in Georgia, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it does seem
Fuck
insane to
that
make such a
up
big financial
so bad.
decision based on a commercial. Like, where's like, remember that commercial we saw that you can like get an app on your phone and they get you a house? Let's buy a house based on that. Like, what are you doing? Who is doing that?
Yeah, it's complicated. Like, why would I? It's like TurboTax for buying a house.
Yeah.
One, I've used TurboTax. It's still confusing, and you're like, the IRS is gonna fucking come here and assassinate me because I put a one where a zero should have been or something.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And you're like,
But you're not investing your entire future in a website that way. Like, who's getting a mortgage? Like Rocket Mortgage, they advertise like it's so easy. You do it on your phone. It only takes a half an hour. I'm like, you're gonna make a 20-year decision in a half an hour on your cell phone? What the hell? You need
don't
that
you
convenience
want-
that much?
Yeah, like, don't you want some guy who's like, I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yes.
This is what you want. You have no money. You want to buy a house. Awesome.
Yeah.
This is what you should do, and I'm gonna help you do it. You go, thank you. As
I mean,
opposed
the
to,
kind
like,
of people who
when
can
I'm I'm
afford to
25 and make my own decisions on a $400,000 house.
Yes.
Fucking serious.
The kind of people who can afford to throw money away on their phone for after half an hour don't use Rocket Mortgage. I know that. So I don't know who that's for.
No, yeah, I don't either.
I think it's for suckers. I have a sneaking suspicion it's for suckers. But I'm saying go that way.
So yeah, I think so too. So
anyways, they named it
Corpsewood
Corpsewood Manor, which is a great name.
Corpsewood Manor, great name.
It's a hauntingly beautiful place.
Beautiful place. Great place to just store your pornography collections and
Of course, whatever suits your fancy, and you are a fancy lad.
chicken.
And also worth mentioning that they are not just off the grid in the metaphorical sense; they were off the grid in a literal sense, which means they were not connected to the power lines or cable or anything.
So was the porn magazines?
It
the
it
70s.
was. It definitely was. Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if we were talking, we had just this huge like VHS room.
No, they had no electricity in the entire manor. It was like a true castle. It was
Candles.
heated by oil, and they used candles. Yeah.
Wow. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I guess in
And-
Georgia it doesn't get so frigid that you're worried about like the pipes bursting or whatever.
There ain't no pipes.
But that's a good point. They had well
That's the
water
burst.
and they had no sewers. So yeah.
Wow. No sewers. So were they, have you seen that picture? We'll pull it up right now. Just a reminder to pull this picture up. What medieval bathrooms used to look like. Did you ever see this picture?
I don't know the particular one you're talking about, but I've seen
fucking
examples of them, and I just wouldn't want to. I think I'd probably rather just go in the woods.
One, it does look fun. So say you're like 10 stories, maybe 15 stories up on a castle in 1200 AD in fucking Germany at Hitler's place.
Sure.
And before it was him, and you need to take a shit. You're up top, can't go outside, you can't go in the alligator circle, you got to go now.
The moat.
They have like literally like, you know, those external elevators on some buildings that you can see them go up and down.
Yeah, it's the poop
It's like
chute.
it's like a built out room of brick or stone on the castle
Yeah,
to a hole that goes down this chute.
the poop chute.
The poop chute. It's like a 10-story long poop chute down into this pit, and then there's a servant who shovels it and brings it somewhere else.
Yeah,
That's what life was like back then. Like you would go, oh, I have to take a shit or piss, and like imagine being drunk and like just there's like this breeze and like you're 10 stories up shitting down the poop chute, which is, hope you don't fall down that fucking thing. You'll die.
It'd be so scary and cold to take a shit on there, but there might be a little bit of satisfying part about you, kind of like when you throw a pebble down like
Exactly
a dark
what I'm thinking.
hole where you're like, how far does it go? And then you can just hear the getting off the sides all the way down.
Or you hear something more satisfying than that. Like, I mean, you literally poop and you feel it detach from your body, and then you like 10 stories, 15 stories. I mean, that could be a couple seconds.
Yeah, it's like when you hear thunder and you count the seconds.
Yeah. So that sounds like a lot of fun. So I can't,
I don't know. I could do that for like a weekend as like a novelty, but to have that be my main source of a lavatory is terrible. That sounds terrible.
I mean, the thing is the physics of smell, I feel like it's still not going to be good up there.
No, and you imagine, you know how much soot gets in the side of a chimney? I mean, you got to imagine there's some leftovers.
You think they burn that out like once a year? They clean it out, let it all dry, and they light a fucking.
I bet they had
fire
chimney
there.
sweeps, but that's a lot different of a job.
That is not,
You don't get soot on your face. You get
poop,
caca.
Yep, poop and pee pee. Yep. Arguably, the pee would probably be hard to get off like that. You go to those old NASCAR bathrooms, and it's like crusty white, yellow.
Yeah, just
ammonia,
ammonia.
scraped like eggs on a pan that you don't clean off. That's what pee does. So that's a weird place to be. So, anyways, we don't know. We're not telling you guys as a fact. We don't know.
You don't know what their bathroom is like.
We're just trying to figure out what the bathroom is like, because there's a lot of fluids moving around this fucking place. A lot more than just poop and pee. So
that's right.
A lot going on. So I don't know about you. I mean, wish we could have a poll for our guests right now. You want to go right?
You want to go to the phones? We can take some calls.
Take some calls. Go to the phones. You can call Brennan, call Chris Hatch, call whatever it is. We'll see if they tell us where to go to at the moment. But we'll wait till next time to bring in some externals. And I mean, you want to let people know what the deal is, what happened here, like, and then get into like the story, because we already told you the setting.
Yeah.
And 2 people. And you want to get right to the murder scene, then just start back from where we are? Does that make no fucking sense?
It makes total sense, and I'm totally on board.
Great.
So these guys, Charles and Joseph, although they were so secluded out there in the woods, they weren't shut-ins. They were likable guys. They were social butterflies. I mean, they came from the city.
Social butterflies.
They like to party. They have a good time, and they could, because no one could tell them what to do in their own castle. So they would have people from the local community or friends would come over, they'd party together. So they met a lot of new people all the time, and they'd have people bring their friends over there. They actually gave a lot of hunting permissions out to people in the local area, because when you're hunting on someone's land, you have to ask them permission to hunt on them. And because they were so close to all this wildlife, people would ask them if they're allowed to hunt on their land, and they would give them the hunting permission, and then ask them over to drink some of their homemade wine later, and they'd hang out and they'd meet a lot of people that way.
Mhm.
So even though they were so secluded, they were still, like you said, social butterflies. They met a lot of people there, and they made friends with a lot of people in the area, which is why so many people knew about the place and knew where it was and knew what the deal was, what the score was. And one of their friends in late December back in 1982, a couple of days after what our story is about occurred, he goes up to their house and he sees the door cracked a bit, and he sees some bullet holes in the walls. And he walks into the house only to discover his two friends, Joseph and Charles, in a pool of their own blood, as well as their two bull mastiffs have been seemingly shot to death. There's blood everywhere. The place is left unkempt, and there's no clear sign of who did it, who was there, or what happened. So their friend's obviously devastated, and he alerts the local authorities that descend upon Corpsewood Manor to find out what exactly happened here in the middle of these Georgian woods in this gothic castle that was built in the 20th century. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight.
That's it. And one of the mysteries that remains unsolved to this day is that Dr. Scudder was shot 5 times in the head, which was interesting because he painted a picture of himself, like a self-portrait of him dead, on the wall of him with 5 bullet holes in his head, and he died in front of the painting of himself with 5 bullet holes in his head.
Yeah, and a gag in his mouth.
And
both times.
Yeah.
In real life and in the painting.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll take with that what you will. We'll write the story for you guys, but that's certainly an insane and creepy detail to the story, that he was a painter, and it's almost like he had a premonition of his own death, or maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I mean, imagine being in a crime scene and looking up to see a beautiful portrait of the crime. It's like, that's gotta be
exactly.
nuts.
Yeah. Like, that's pretty odd. And we talk about odd things in this podcast. If anyone's just joining now,
it's our bread and butter, really.
Yeah,
our bread and butter in our plate and our
bread
utensils.
and butter is the Bigfoots, aliens, Loch Ness monster, Houdini, clowns,
unsolved mysteries,
drugs, fucking crazy stuff. So we're not saying we did this yet. Definitely birds, a lot of birds, and we're not telling you what happened yet, but
oh boy,
anything could happen. So
that makes for an interesting tale.
Mm-hmm. So that's the murder scene. What a weird way to go. Back to the manor itself, because we obviously, the murder is quite the mystery here.
Right. It is the song of the hour.
Two dead people seemingly just trying to get away from society, have some nice parties, socialize people, very welcoming, friendly, everyone knows their deal, the town knows them, this type of stuff, and a well-educated group here. But so right before they were done building the manor, they added a 3-story chicken house.
Chicken house, also known as the party room.
Yeah. The first floor was for chicken and food storage.
But they did never have chickens there, though, which is strange enough. They built it for chickens, but chickens never lived there.
Okay, all right, that's a little odd, don't you think? I've never built a chicken house without having chickens in it. But
I never built a chicken house, period.
No, I never have either. But if I did, I already have plans for how I'd do it.
Right. You might even buy chickens before you're done building the house in anticipation.
Oh, likely you buy literally chicken wire and then put a bunch of chickens in and you go, you know what, they
Yeah,
need
you should
fucking
build a
more
house.
than
Yeah.
this. Yeah. Um, so but it sounds like I know they called this the chicken house, but
Yeah.
looks like the second floor didn't involve chickens and the third floor also didn't involve chickens. Am I right?
Really, none of it involved chickens.
No.
Besides the name.
It says, or they told us that the first floor
Yeah.
was, I don't know what this means. Trust me, I know what it means.
I'm sure it was built out like a chicken house, but it has like the sections where the chickens can sleep and lay eggs and stuff like that. Except there was never any chickens that lived there. It was just built for chickens to be there, and they never
Wait a minute.
bought chickens.
So it
They didn't
says
own any
floor by
chickens.
floor what was actually there. So I'm gonna go down my list of floor one.
Mhm.
Floor one was 4. It doesn't say built for, it says was 4. So I think that implies that this actually was in there because I know what it says floor 2 and floor 3 were
Okay.
were
So,
4.
so go ahead.
And we know those floors were 4 things that were in there. So I would
Right.
assume that it says the first floor was for poultry and food storage.
Mhm.
But what is poultry? I mean, trust me, I know it's chicken, but
Right.
is
Well,
it
well, poultry
dead
more
chickens?
implies that it is chicken,
Dead.
that it's dead, and you eat it. Yeah.
Okay, so we had the first floor was full of dead chickens and other food, right? I
Which
mean,
actually that could imply chickens were alive at one point and then they just died.
look, we got no air conditioning, we got no barely
Right.
running water. We don't have running water. We have nothing.
Well, I think there's well water,
How?
but I think
All
that's
right,
it.
so it's full of well water and chicken breasts. I mean, like, what is this first floor
Seems
about?
unlikely, right? Yeah, but they
Dude,
must store their food somehow. I mean, they definitely like they lived there full time, so it wasn't like they were hunting every day. I mean, they must
it
have had like
doesn't
an
mean
ice
that they're
box or
good at
something.
food storage. So
I don't
like,
know.
because it implies that poultry and food storage are two separate things.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't you don't store a chicken for more than like a day or two anyways.
No,
Like
you
a
don't.
day.
No,
It's
it
like
very well could be that
one,
they had it. It's just from what I read and the stuff I watched, they didn't actually have like a working farm. Like they didn't buy chickens. They built the place in order to do that, but they were kind of like they were more interested in like making their own wine and like throwing parties and stuff rather than being like legitimate farmers.
So do you think if they had just like a sectioned off area with blue tape that just had that white packet under chicken breasts just stacked up, we're like, all right, we get poultry, it's just gonna go on this like mattress of absorbent
I don't know.
packets, and then the rest of the food storage, whatever that means, goes next to the jelly beans for chicken.
I
Maybe.
really don't know.
Trying to figure out. No one's. If anyone knows, just send us an email or
Yeah, I would
call
love to.
us.
I would love to know more
Send us
about
an
it.
Instagram. Actually, Dylan and Joe Basement podcast on Instagram. Just write in here and tell us we're fucking stupid and we don't know what the hell we're doing.
Mhm.
Something like that. Because we don't understand this first floor. Like poultry and food storage, all it says. So we're just gonna roll with that. Whether
Sure.
it's live, it's not live chickens. We know that. So it might just be dead chickens, not processed. It might just be chicken breasts stacked to the roof. We're not sure, but it's
It's a little murky, much
yeah,
like the murder.
unrefrigerated, unfrozen, stacked chicken breasts.
Or it
Mile
could be
high.
Jamaican jerk chicken.
Yeah, seasoned, unseasoned, old, new, taxidermied. I don't fucking know.
It's all taxidermy chicken.
Just to tell you, first floor,
They're
just
decorative
taxidermy chickens and canned spaghettios. Do not go on the first floor. That's the taxidermy chicken.
That
and
is not
spaghetti
for
room.
guests.
Yeah, not for guests, not for children, not for adults. So
I would wager the whole manor is not for children.
Yeah, definitely not the first floor of the chicken house, though.
Not child safe.
Yeah, you want to just go have 74 different eyeballs looking at you of taxidermy chickens and spaghetti cans. Go to the first floor. Scary.
I mean, that is
Candle
one
lit,
benefit.
candle lit. It's
Candle lit,
too.
right?
Yep.
That's one benefit of being a gay couple who built their own manor in Georgia. You don't have to make it child friendly because there's not going to be any kids there anytime
Nope.
ever.
Yeah, no. So second floor, more more canned goods.
And
So,
more candles.
assuming more candles, more SpaghettiOs.
Just
Maybe
picture
maybe-
candles are everywhere because there's no light bulbs and it's ambiance. So there's candles in every part of this manor, no matter what we say.
Yeah, probably just made of earwax at this point because they're running out of like resources, but or chicken, or they make chickens into candles. We're not sure, but so much chicken here. But no actual
Cock-a-doodle candles.
chicken products. So, aka poultry, could be a candle, chicken candle, right?
Make it out of rendered fat.
No one said that poultry doesn't mean candle,
I'm not here to say that.
right? Like, what's the line for poultry?
I don't know, but I think we should truck ahead.
Okay, all right. So canned goods, more canned goods, which means, like I said, SpaghettiOs. Maybe now we have Chef Boyardee.
Cranberry sauce.
Chef
the
Boyardee, cranberry sauce, but stops there. No more. Yeah, no camel soup. It's just those. And then next to all those new additions to canned goods, their entire porn collection.
Yes.
Which
must have been extensive because it's mentioned in a lot of different things that I saw.
So much porn in this chicken house. So, and like we said,
you could also maybe
earlier,
call it a cock house.
Also, yeah, definitely a cock
Maybe
house.
that's why it was truly called the chicken house. We may never know.
That's a really good point. Yeah, cock house. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah,
I don't know how many chickens were there, but I know there was a lot of cock there.
Yeah, it reminds me of like going to like friends, never UMass Amherst, but like other friends. You'd go visit a college and you'd go to like some party, and it was the same thing. It was just a cock house.
Just Chef Boyardee, SpaghettiOs, and cock.
Yeah,
and porn collection.
Yeah, and one girl.
Wow, that analogy lines up too perfectly with our story today.
85 guys and like 3 girls, maybe max. And you're like, oh, let's go have fun. Like, be chicks there. And there's like 3 chicks and like 100 men, also known as a cock house, also known as the chicken house from the story.
Yep.
Little different.
It's all coming together.
And Chef Boyardee and canned goods sounds about right to me. College days. Yeah. So we got a huge porn collection. And as we mentioned, this is, I mean, it's VHS days, but we got no electricity. So this is just printouts,
hard copies,
and possibly
physical
hard copies, but also they don't say that it's not drawn. Like maybe they
could be paintings. I mean, he was an artist himself there, Charlie.
Imagine honestly, Joe, if you're in jail and you have no access to stuff and you gotta do some stuff, who's stopping you from drawing a naked chick? And then,
no one can stop you from making your imagination a reality.
That's true. Sure. So all of a sudden
they can take your freedom and they can't take your imagination.
No, then you have a porn collection that you drew yourself for yourself, and then after a while you could sell it to people. Huge business opportunity in jail. Just saying.
Yeah, it's one hand helping the other.
It's just one hand helping the other. That's exactly it. It all makes sense. So, first floor, taxidermy chicken room. Second floor, Chef Boyardee and porn collection. And the third floor is their arguably most fucked up room so far. If you didn't think it'd get weirder. Joe, tell us about the third floor.
I don't know the breakdowns of each individual floor, but I have to imagine this is when the part of the story comes in where the guy has a lot of LSD there. So it's one thing, because the parties, they don't have any electricity, but they have a lot of LSD.
A lot
namely
more LSD than
and it'll come into the story later, but we know that they had at least 12,000 doses. So that's a couple of tanks.
That's when they found their dead bodies, though. So,
right. So it was probably a lot more than that to start with.
Yeah, I think it was more probably double or triple that from the 2 years there, because they got
12,000 doses that was left over
when he worked as a professor at Chicago Loyola.
Pharmacology studies. He probably sees
all
them
of it from there.
Yeah, he probably sees them before they were not allowed to be researched anymore, because the government didn't take all of it. People probably said, "Oh, we already used it up," and a lot of professors, I'm sure, took home a lot of that stuff.
And they had 2 years to burn through like daily parties where they would use LSD, and when they died, they had 12,500 doses left over. They had a lot more than that to begin with.
Right, so that's totally right.
So the third room to let you know was you'll know it was known as the Pink Room because everything was painted pink.
The Pink Room, yes.
Also known as the Pleasure Chamber, also known as Chicken is Pink. So the whole chicken house is chicken colored, full of possibly full of chicken. Maybe there was no chicken there. Full of corn and full of chicken colored things. LSD.
The Pleasure Chamber.
Not chicken colored usually, right? Kind of just looks like a piece of wet paper. Well, like
I would say it's clear for the most part.
Well, doesn't the paper still have a little bit of yellow on it?
No, that's just an aspect of it being left out in the air. I think LSD is clear.
Yep.
Colorless, odorless. Like, kind of unlike all the cool mad scientist stuff you see in movies and TV. Most all chemicals are colorless and odorless. That's why it's so hard to be a chemist, because you have to actually know all the stuff. You can't just be like, you add green and red together and then it turns purple and bubbles up like a crazy foam.
Yeah.
I mean, that is true for like probably 5% of all chemicals, but mostly all of them are colorless and odorless. Even when they're solid, they're just like white powder. It's
like sarin gas, absolutely
colorless,
zero
odorless.
anything. Then you're just dead.
Yeah. So most chemicals are just that.
Yeah.
The fascination comes in what they do, not what they look like.
That's right. That is definitely true. So that's the chicken house. And then the one thing that really ties the chicken house all together, besides the colors, and we've got plenty of time to go over what's going on in that room.
Oh yeah.
Is the Church of Satan. Another recurring revenue factor for the Dylan Joe Basin podcast.
Oh yeah, we go back to that well. We'll continue to go back to that well because it's fascinating.
Them come right back into shit. And
the Church of Satan, again, I think, just to reiterate before we go into the story too much, is not to be confused with other different Satan's temple and other names of different churches that claim to worship Satan. The Church of Satan is one of those ones that is actually atheistic, but chooses to follow the tenets of living for the now and thinking that anything between two consenting adults is an a-okay way to be, and that means a lot of craziness usually. But there's no people who worship at the Church of Satan actually don't sacrifice things to a imaginary demon with horns that they think is going to change stuff in their life. They just kind of ascribe to that mentality. As far as I know, that Dr. Charles and Joseph didn't believe in any religion, as in deities, but they did believe in the idea of getting fucked up with their buddies and wagging some tails and spanking some monkeys, as it were, in their privacy of their own manor. Yeah,
ball gagging a person or two and
getting really weird about it.
Yeah, getting weird. So,
but that'll come into play, especially as we see the story fold out, because people in Georgia may have been really cool about these two guys being off on their own, being nice people around the community. But the whole thing about them being two gay guys who are part of the Church of Satan and they're doing drugs and they're jerking each other off, it starts to be very unsympathetic to the local community, even today, never mind in 1982, where this takes place.
Yeah, exactly. So, but everything we're saying right now in today's day doesn't, besides the chicken room and stuff like that, like nothing seems too crazy. It's like two gay dudes who, like LSD and built their own castle and like
like paintings.
It said, like paintings. It says Dr. Scudder like dyed hair, like had purple hair and had a pet monkey besides the two crazy dogs. This is even before he built the mansion, but like all right, he sounds like he's just an eccentric dude, whatever. Like I don't think that's weird.
No.
And
I think it is weird, but not in the way where it's like, that's weird, I don't want to be around that. I think it's weird. It's like, oh, it's interesting.
Someone who thinks a little bit differently than the average person, and that's totally cool. So Church of Satan also not weird. And it says besides he definitely took the LSD from the school.
I can't imagine he was synthesizing it in his Georgian woods castle there. He didn't have the facilities for that.
Yeah, you need a little more tech for that. But
that's not exactly baking pot cookies. It takes a little bit more than just an open flame.
Yeah, do you know
synthesize
anything
LSD.
about it? Like, because I really don't know how to synthesize LSD.
No,
Lysergic,
I don't, and even if I
something.
did, I wouldn't mention it on the internet if I did know what I
Yeah, of
I'm just
course. But
kidding.
like, no, but like, I don't even know where you
I really
start.
don't
You
know.
start with a plant. Do you start with a fucking cup of gasoline? I mean, like, where does it?
I think it's somewhere in between. No, I think yeah, it's basically just like the chemicals that
Chicken? It's
that
chicken?
people would have that people would have at a a university grade or like the Olympic sized swimming pool of having access to materials. We're able to synthesize different molecules together, and their job, which I assume the person who developed that had a very similar profession to Charles Schutter, because he was a person who worked at a university and was tasked with making new drugs, which means combining a bunch of them together and diluting them and synthesizing new things until you get molecules that look a certain way, and you try to get a lot of the similar ones to see the differences in their reactions. And the guy who initially discovered it was looking for something completely different and found out that these are the effects to it, and then started looking at that more and more closely. And you find that usually if you can look at the molecular structure of different you know chemicals or drugs or whatever, they usually act similarly, because ultimately all chemistry is little tiny shapes going together, and they go together in certain ways, and it doesn't look like that from the outside. But if you could really zoom in with an electron microscope and see how molecules come together, it's just like Legos. It's whatever the things bind to each other and connect and how they react, and they all click together like a bunch of puzzle pieces. And if you can make two puzzle pieces that look almost the same, they end up clicking in puzzle pieces in your head the same, or in your body the same, or even in a beaker the same.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was really developing his own new drugs there at that college. I think he was more studying the effects of them rather than synthesizing them himself. But that would mean he definitely had access to a lot of different drugs in order to study their effects on people, and probably a lot of drugs that had to do a lot with the human mind as well, which includes
Yeah.
definitely lysergic diethyl acid there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it says that they did not narrow it down to just LSD. I mean, he was
Yeah.
a government funded scientist
Mm-hmm.
who worked with mind altering drugs like LSD as an
They really
academic.
should add that into his estate, where he's like, I'm going to flee to Georgia with a bunch of money to build my own mansion. It's like, but if you actually added in the assets of all those drugs too, he probably had twice as much money if he sold all that.
Oh my God. Yeah. 12,500 doses of LSD at, in the, again, obviously this is
82.
1982.
Yeah, you could
$5 a
probably.
tab back then, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm assuming so, but that's with inflation. I mean, they could probably buy another couple chicken houses with that money if they sold it all.
Well, $5. So say it was 10,000 doses at $5. It's $50,000 pre-inflation. So like
In
$50,000 in
1982, yeah.
1980 could buy you most of a single family house in the suburbs of Boston.
I would say that probably most of the houses that were closest to him cost
Georgia.
$50,000 or less at the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he could probably buy his neighbor's house, even though he couldn't see his neighbor house because he was so far away from all his neighbors.
Yeah, no problem. Exactly.
But yeah,
So
but he
yeah,
knew it was up. He was like, I'm going to spend all my money on the house and keep the party stuff for later.
yeah, exactly. The house is cheap. I'm going to keep 12,500 doses of LSD. That way I'm saving money. It's a bargain. So
it's an investment in his future.
Investment in his future. Yeah, it's yep. You either have as rich dad, poor man, or whatever the fuck that stupid book is yeah, you can categorize your entire life into assets or liabilities.
Sure.
You know what he thought of those LSD tablets?
Probably similarly with how they thought of yeah. Similarly, how he thought of his homemade wine too. They didn't sell that wine; they made it at home because they liked drinking wine with their friends or whatever. They just enjoyed it themselves. It wasn't a money making scheme; it was more of a enjoyment and at home thing, I guess.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, doesn't explain all the chickens though. I mean,
it certainly doesn't.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if he was trying to create a new drug, trying to synthesize chicken juice into some sort of mind altering drug. I mean, I'm sure if you ate enough raw chicken, you probably would hallucinate and then die. But
yeah, because you'd puke your brains out and you'd be so dehydrated, you'd start to hallucinate. I can see that.
Or some crazy fungus or bacteria would start growing on there, and then like you'd eat that, and then Yeah, maybe he's on the works of doing that, but he obviously gets the game. He's making wine, and that was probably, unless he put drugs in the wine, which is very possible. That was probably
Could
some
be.
good fucking wine. You got a real chemist making wine. They're not fucking around.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like they're they got nothing but time really. Both of
Yeah,
them were no longer employed. They just decided it was like an early retirement thing for both of them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's great. It's good for them. So, do you know how old they were? Because I don't think I was able to see exactly.
Interesting. I'll look it up
We
right
were in
now.
our 50s, right? At least.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they
Yeah.
weren't young men, but they definitely weren't like 80 years old. Like they didn't. They
No.
were before retirement age.
Yeah, they're at their prime. They didn't need probably didn't need any drugs to get it up yet. Like that age, like they were still able to hold a
Yeah.
strong one.
26 to 82.
All right, so somewhere in that range, 26 to 82 is
So
where
he was 60.
is where they were when they died. They were somewhere between 26 years old and 50 years old.
64. I know he was okay. Yeah, he was 56 when he died.
Okay, so like I said, that was good. That's right in between 26 to 82. So, yeah.
So, anyways, yeah. So it was before retirement age, but Joseph was younger than him. I'm sorry I don't have it all pulled up here. I just must have had the notes of what I was going to say.
Yeah,
but,
no, it's okay. So yeah,
either way, I think Joseph was a
50s.
good deal younger than him, though.
Yeah, so late 30s, early 40s, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both were just free to express their Satanism within the confines of the Corpsewood Manor, and their little forest sanctuary there was guarded by 2 mastiffs.
Right, which I think is definitely a good idea, especially being out there in the wilderness. Never mind just being so far away from any society or town to kind of keep an eye on, maybe untoward characters coming in and out. But just being that far into the nature reserve, there could be bears or wolves or whatever else is going to happen. You don't know. It's good to have a couple dogs around to guard the chicken coop, whether or not there's chickens in it.
It's better than, I mean, the thing is, like, you can go out there and be like a gun hoarder, but then you're sleeping. What are you going to do?
Yeah, the dogs are going to wake up before you.
Bull mastiffs, no one's fucking gonna fuck with you. Like,
absolutely.
Those dogs hear something crunching leaves outside, and then all of a sudden you get like
they're up.
Serious dogs barking at you. You're good. Like,
yeah.
That's
and then where are you gonna go? I mean, those dogs can outrun you in the woods all day long, all night long.
And they will rip you to shreds. Have you seen videos of people like, when you're like a kid and
being
you're like
killed by dogs?
Not killed, but you watch videos of things that are wicked fucked up when you're a kid, because you're like, that's just something, like people being burned alive by ISIS in 7th grade.
Yeah, you're like, well, I probably want to see this, and then you realize, oh no.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, a bull mastiff chasing down a criminal and like making him scream. Like, yeah, I'll watch that fucked up video. There's like a phase in everyone's life where they watch fucked up videos. Yeah. I've seen one of a dog,
testing
like,
your limits,
a police dog like fucking up a convict, and there's like really this white trash dude running from a German Shepherd that just, dude's got, it's like in slow motion this video, and it's funny. Like, some dude thinks, you see the dog and he's just like, oh shit.
Yeah, by the time you see it's already over.
Bad news. And the dog grabs him by the arm and just starts shaking like a shark, and the guy's just screaming, and there's fucking pools of blood everywhere. And it's like, that's the reality of that. So like, it's like, cool. I'd rather get shot, honestly, like, as opposed to,
yeah, me too. Are you kidding me? Yeah, and it doesn't just do the thing where like a feline predator where they try to bite your neck, the back of your neck, so they get your brainstem in your spine so you can't move. Dogs, they just start tearing you to pieces because they usually don't hunt alone, so they're used to having a bunch of them all tearing at the same time. What are you going to do against that?
You, come back here! Come back here! God damn it! I'll stick my dog on you! Run, Gordy! Chopper! Sick him, boy!
Now he said sick 'em boy, but what I heard was Chopper sick balls.
And there's like you said, yeah, a female lion or whatever it is, like, goes right for the brainstem.
Yeah,
dogs just pick something and start shredding.
Yeah,
and pull it using their body.
Yeah, they use their jaws, their whole body.
Yeah, it's terrible. So you just blood everywhere, people screaming.
It's not slow. I mean, it is slow. It's not fast at all.
Yeah,
it's very
slow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like It's a crazy town. So like you're in this like it's almost funny because like you're just a criminal, like just so bad. So it's not funny, but it's fucked. And so
Anyways, so I wouldn't mess with a bull mastiff.
Great way to have Beelzebub and Arzenath. They're two dogs.
Oh, so they named him after demons? That's pretty cool.
Well, they named Beelzebub obviously after a demon. And then the
Arzenath isn't a demon? Sounds like
Arzenath is an H.P. Lovecraft character.
Oh, interesting. So they were into the old cult of Cthulhu and all that interesting stuff.
Yep, and then they did have a third dog too.
Oh, did they? I only knew about two of them.
Yeah, no, a local. It says a local legend. Do you know any local legends? Like who could this be?
Around northern Georgia? No.
North Georgia. There's another local legend who knew some shit. Like maybe the guy at the liquor store. I don't know.
I'm sure that guy had a funny.
That guy's a fucking legend. Look at him. What did he do? He worked at the liquor store, skateboards and shit. Like local legend.
He once shot 3 rabbits with 1 bullet. The guy's a legend.
Yeah, exactly. That type of guy. Local legend, as it said that they also summoned a real demon to assist the dogs and guard the house.
Okay, so there's
2 dogs and a demon.
2 dogs and a demon dog.
2 dogs and a demon guarding this house.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That demon must have been taking a fucking nap that night because wowee.
Yeah, exactly. He must have been on some. They may have given all of them some LSD, but
I would say you just get 3 dogs together and you call them Cerberus, and then you tie them together with rope, and then they have a 3-headed dog.
I don't disagree with that at all.
That can guard the gates of Hades.
You don't even know where to shoot at that point. But besides that, they had more to guard the mansion too. There's a lot of guarded secrets in there. A lot of porn, a lot of chicken breasts,
wire,
a lot of stuff like that.
Maybe some runes and some alchemical traps.
Pretty much. I mean, they had some gothic paraphernalia, like bongs in the shape of demon pussies and and demon dicks. No, just kidding.
Eclectic taste.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, nothing like the old demon dick bong to guard your house. No, when Dr. Scooter left his college or his university, Loyola up in Chicago, he took 2 human skulls.
Yes, yeah, they had 2 human skulls there, which is pretty strange.
Yep, took those boys. I could have bought one too, by the way. In Salem, they do sell them.
Yeah.
Probably.
I wonder if people who skulls those belong to know they're going to be sold that way, though. I imagine not.
You think that because you look at that and you're like, oh, it's a human skull, and you go, that was a whole life of a person.
Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable having one of those because I'm sure that it's not illegal to even obtain human remains unless it's for the cause of science. So that means
they were sold under the name of science, so they came from a medical university.
So they were obtained for scientific purposes and then later sold separately for not that purpose at all, which is probably not what the person signed up for when they died.
No, and if I did have a human skull, I would definitely want details on it where I can respect it and not use it as like, hey, check this out. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want that, but yeah, they had them there. But so they had some human skulls and another pink, chicken colored gargoyle.
Sure.
And it was more like he called it. I have so many quotes from Dr. Scudder, but I don't know if these are in the paper or in the press release or on fucking LinkedIn, wherever the fuck he was putting shit back then. But he
the want ads, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of misconnections, wherever.
Yeah.
He said it was more like a mausoleum, a tomb requiring care, cleaning, and endless costly repairs.
I believe that. I mean, with all that brickwork in the middle of the woods, it's probably more akin to a mausoleum.
I know, but quite frankly,
please be frank.
I'm going to be very frank with you right now.
Well, be Dylan and then be frank about it.
I'm going to be very Charles or Chuck with you right now.
Chuck.
When you build your own house and it's only 2 years old and it has endless costly repairs and you don't have plumbing, electric, or water or shit airs or fucking anything,
lights
or lights.
Yeah.
I'm kind of missing where the repairs are coming from.
I think it may come from the fact that these two guys built a castle in the woods and they might have
I
not
know what
been
I'm thinking.
perfectly good at it. Yeah, I mean, it's impressive that they even got it done and they could live there, but there might have been a couple of Mickey Mousing along the way.
Little Mickey Mouse thing is what I'd call it too.
I think so.
Because I think that if it's 2 years old and you built it yourself and needs endless repairs, it kind of sounds like, but missing all of the core elements of shit that actually goes wrong in houses. Like you shouldn't be like, the goddamn bricks are falling off again after 2 years. Not a common statement. It's usually like, oh, the sink's dripping. There isn't a sink.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's not like the ice heaves on the top of your roof or like really getting to your gutters. I mean, they weren't worried about any of that shit.
Yeah. Oh, god damn it. The fucking hot water heater just got all carbonated again or whatever. They crystallized, whatever the fuck, or the leaky pipe or like.
The Wi-Fi keeps going out.
Wi-Fi or the fucking, I clogged the shitter again because I take huge shits on LSD. None of that's a problem. So maybe costly repairs means they just shit in the fucking outhouse too much and the outhouse got blown over by a tornado. I don't fucking know. Anyways,
I bet it was just a bunch of like weather and stuff, like just like it was finding like holes and creeks and things that they didn't like seal up properly. I mean, building a place that big for your first house you ever built, like you're bound to miss things. And as soon as like major weather events hit you, where in northern Georgia, it's not like a huge crazy hurricane area, but like you'll get some like summer storms and stuff like that. And if that hits you after you're already done building the place, you start to realize where all those holes are. And you're like, oh shit, we got to replace the part of the roof or the room or whatever. I mean, no one wants to get cold water dripping on the back of their neck when they're balls deep in their buddy's bum hole. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a cliche for a reason. I feel like I'm retreading old ground here, but I can't help but say it again,
Yeah, I know, but I do have a question before we go on our first quick commercial break.
Sure.
Have you ever heard of the story of the Three Little Pigs?
Oh, certainly. I call it the story of the Big Bad Wolf because I like to see it from his perspective, but yeah.
Oh, wait, sorry, I lost you for 1 second, but I think it was all my fault. Back. You can hear me, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So Big Bad, you call it the Big Bad Wolf story.
Yeah, because I see it from his perspective, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, because each of them were basically Charles and Odom. No, Charles and
Joseph Odom. Yeah.
Joseph Odom. In the story, one of them built a house made of straw, and the Big Bad Wolf, blew that.
He huffs and he puffs and he blows it down. Yeah.
Down. The next one built out of wood. A little more work than it happened. Then the third one built a house out of brick, and the wolf lost the game. So,
well, he huffed and he puffed and he tried to blow it down, but he realized he could go through the chimney, and it would have worked too if it wasn't for those meddling pigs starting a fire.
Exactly. So, what my point here is I'm saying that Charles and Joseph built a house out of bricks.
They're the third pig.
Unless you really don't do a great job building a house out of bricks, they seem to be pretty robust.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happens when you get two people on LSD building a castle. They do a fucking great job, but it might need endless repairs due to some things that were overlooked that they overlooked.
Yeah, it's like a beautiful work of art. It's you could build a perfect box and have it be sturdy and last 100 years, but it won't look as nice as a beautiful castle that needs repairs one year.
That's right. So on that note, we're going to on our commercial break, and we will be right back. Be right back. Covered up gargoyles and endless repairs and
yeah. Do you want to get to the murders? Let's get to the murders.
Yeah, let's get to the murders. So before we get to the murders with a D, not a B.
We're still not back yet, though. Let me know when you want to start it up.
Oh yeah, okay. All right, we're back. Thanks for letting us go on a piss break. It was well deserved, right, Joe?
Piss and syrup break.
Yep. Well deserved. Before I was here today, there's some other podcasts that was talking about people who wipe their ass standing up or sitting down. I just want to know, Joe, where are you at? Do you sit on the toilet and wipe your ass?
Can you
up?
actually wipe your ass standing up fully? Because doesn't your ass get like all like nice and tight and it's really hard to get in there?
So yeah,
because I would consider it. I don't, because I know some people do it where they completely are sitting down and they completely reach underneath.
Where is the room though?
I don't know, because I'll stand up, but I won't stand up like I'm saluting a superior officer. I'll stand up like, to give myself some room.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing my whole life.
And I thought that everyone does that.
Fully get off
I recently learned that people don't even bother getting off the seat and they just start going really. Their head must be at their knees at that point, right? If you're gonna really, I mean, how do you do it? I don't understand.
So I'm glad you said this, because I don't stand up like I'm fucking at attention in the Marine Corps.
Right. Yeah. It's like somewhere in between.
That's not happening. That's not even possible. It's not possible.
No.
I sort of squat, but
yeah.
some people I'm learning, some people lean to the side.
Yeah. See, no, I don't.
I'm like, I'd need to, honestly, there's some people do that. Then some people just genuinely don't get off the toilet. For one, if you are a 50%er and you just lean to the side, I feel like I'd need a bucket truck, like a backhoe, to pick up an ass cheek for me to even get in there. Like I'm performing surgery, you need clamps or something. Like, what do you mean go to the side? Do you take one arm over the side and pull, what the fuck? I'd fall off and have to call an ambulance.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, I guess when you're so used to doing something, imagine doing it another way. It seems impossible.
Yeah, and then another.
I wonder if there is a split between
in between their legs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if there's a split between genders or sexes there, because I think that most women probably always do it sitting down, because when they pee, they do it too. But they don't stand up. I don't think when they're doing that. I think they probably just sit down and just do it, wipe while they're still sitting. So I wonder if there's a disproportionate amount of women who always sit down.
So I've heard from women, they sit down, and I don't care if you don't have a dick right there and balls or whatever you have. I
think that's part of the equation.
You sit down and do that? Like, what world is this? That seems like the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's like me reaching under my seat in my car to find a fucking piece of gum. I'll never find that gum.
No.
What?
No, you should do is you get out of the car, you kneel at the side and use a flashlight.
Yes. So for you to for someone to sit down and have someone else wipe their ass, they'd have to have two people. There's no way your arm can do that. It's not, you can't get back there. So sitting down, if you lay down on your back, sure.
like a die when you change your die and you put your knees behind your ears, you do it that way.
Yeah. So if you want to go on the floor and do that, that makes more sense to me than sitting down and putting your hand inside the toilet bowl. Gross. Oh yeah.
Also, your hand's in the toilet bowl, and presumably there's still other stuff in there that you don't want to touch, but your hand's getting dangerously close.
This is a danger situation that no one's talking about. So that's crazy to me. I don't understand at all. And then too, so yeah, for me, I just sort of squat a little bit, but half stand, half sit, and then just get what I gotta get done and get out of there. And now all of a sudden everyone on these fucking 10,000 podcasts talking about how to wipe their ass, and it just blows my mind how most men be like, yeah, I sit down. I'm like, wait, one of these people, they're fucking really fat and they sit down. I'm like, if I don't have room, how the hell do you have room?
Their shoulders just must be so just twisted up, just trying to do that.
Jeez, I'd throw out my back or my neck, or I'd be bad. Anyway, so I just wanted to clarify that we both do the same thing, because it's it's not normal to do anything else but squat a little bit. That squatting, never in the world has squatting been sitting. So if they're like, yeah, I sit down to wet my ass, it means you're sitting down.
Yeah.
Not possible. So anyway,
but that's why I think that there is a split there that we're not thinking of. I bet it disproportionately, if you had a poll out there, I bet that more ladies out there would say they'd never stand up, even squat.
I feel like I would need that thing you put a tennis ball in to throw a dog.
Yeah, one of those high scoops almost.
Yeah, it's gives you extra leverage to throw a dog ball. It's covered in spit. I'd need that to get that far back.
Well, you can just fling it out the window.
Sure. Toilet paper is
I wonder if they
biodegradable.
used that at the Corpsewood Manor because they didn't have running water. So maybe you just scoop back with one of those tennis ball throwers and just fling it into the Georgian woods.
Dude, it makes sense. I mean, like I had this big thing where like people put dog shit in plastic bags and they walk their dogs, maybe around Corpsewood Manor too. And then they leave the dog shit bag in the woods, or they put it in a landfill. I'm like, you put shit, which is literally just earth,
It's
in
compost.
plastic
And they
bag.
wrap it so it never. Yeah, it's the worst thing
And
you
they
can
throw
do.
it in a trash can. I'm like, why instead of this, why doesn't everyone carry a shovel with them and then just launch it like a lacrosse ball in the woods? I've
It would
solved
be much better
huge
for
problem.
the earth.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely countless bags of dog shit wrapped up in non-compostable, not decomposable plastic bags. There's like one of those thank you with smiley face bags that still has
Yes.
dog shit in it from
Sitting in-
1999. It's a shame, really.
Sitting in a landfill. I'm like, this makes no sense. Just
Such a
carry a
waste.
shovel. Go to the Army Navy store, get that little fucking green one that folds out, and launch that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. So back to Beelzebub and fucking whatever the other dog's name is.
Cerberus.
So Beelzebub, what's the dog's name?
I don't know. I only know Beelzebub. I don't know the character from H.P. Lovecraft. Name.
Yeah, well, we're talking about dog shit, so I figured I'd start off with them to just get back into dogs. Beelzebub and Arzanath,
Gotcha.
and Dr. Scudder and Joseph Odom, the four of them plus the demon outside, like to have guests over for to go to the chicken room, and specifically to the third floor of the chicken room, which starts off, they have to go through the first and second floors, but they would go to the third floor in the chicken room to have wild group orgies. And
As you do.
And not even group orgies, just sex parties, just people just fucking putting shit in every hole everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And in the pink room, this room was all pink, and it was.
I think it's the
wild.
chicken house, and then it's the pink room, right?
Sorry, did I say chicken room? I meant chicken house.
Yeah.
Chicken
right.
house, pink room,
Right.
painted pink, filled with mattresses, candles, whips, chains, more porn, and even a logbook listing guests' sexual predilections. And does anyone have a dictionary handy?
Yeah, predilections. Yeah, it's your preferences and what you do.
You have a book? Oh, so if I was a recurring friend, they'd open this book, find my last name, go me, and then it says that I like to stick wine bottles up my ass.
Yeah, that way.
Make sure we have a wine bottle around.
Which I think now, of course, but especially in 1982, that's a blackmail book for the folks in Georgia who come by to visit. They go, oh, we have it written down right here.
They go,
September 1981, he did this, he likes this, and his wife is going to be disappointed.
Even better, they go, Governor of Georgia, 1981 was.
That's what I mean. It's a blackmail book.
It was it Jimmy Carter?
And 81, maybe.
After
Nixon.
I don't know if he was the president or I don't know.
Jimmy Carter, was he from Georgia?
Don't know. I don't know who the governor was in 1981. Oh yeah, I got it right here. In 1981, the governor of Georgia was a man by the name of Beelzebub.
Jimmy Carter was governor of Georgia in 1962.
Jimmy Carter was the governor of Georgia from 71 to 75. Weirdly enough.
Oh, he was a senator in 62. I got you.
Yeah. What?
So for at least part of the time, Jimmy Carter was the governor, but not when these murders happened.
Yeah. So when these murders happened, it was very close to Beelzebub. And it was a guy by the name from 1975 to 1983. The governor at the time of all these murders and fucking shit was Governor George Busby.
George Beazle Busby.
George Beazle, butt plug Busby. What's your man?
George Buggeroo Beazle butt play Busby.
Busby, Chicken Man, put it in, guy. So anyway, so George Busby we don't know. We don't know.
We're neither
But
going to
there was a
confirm
local
nor
legend.
deny
There was a local
his
legend.
pink room
There was a local
regalia.
legend who did send us a comment on our Instagram. Local legend in the 80s who sent us a quick note that said George Busby, very similar to Jeffrey Epstein's mansion situation. George
Yeah.
Busby might have been in the
Recollecting
pink room
Heights.
in the chicken house during the years of 75 to 81. And it's a very, very good way to do exactly what you said, is that George Busby's favorite thing to do is to take a dead chicken head and put it up his penis
Oh wow.
while having anal sex and with two dogs biting his nipples. And then all of a sudden, our friends here, Joseph and Dr.
Charles Scudder.
Dr. Charles Scudder, said they wanted to extend their property and they also wanted to run for Senate. And they said, hey, George.
Grease some wheels for us, George.
Yeah.
We greased yours.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to grease these wheels? Because we can grease your wheels again in front of the TV.
What's your wife going to think about our predilection logbook?
Yeah, we get a little thumping on you, my friend, because we know what you like at the
Yeah, I can see a lot of males from northern Georgia not particularly liking the idea of those two having a book with all their sexual hangups in it.
No, but the
they
rules
might be a little
rules,
upset about
though.
that.
The rules are the rules.
The rules are the rules.
Governor George Busby, if you you come
No,
here,
don't call him out. His family's going to come after us.
Okay, all right, sorry.
You've already said wildly inaccurate things about
all
him.
right, yep, these are wildly inaccurate. No, these are true. Please
He's
don't
just
talk about
speculating here,
us. We are
folks.
just
He can,
speculating. This is
they
true.
might be true, but we're not saying they're factual, but they might be.
Governor, whatever, anybody, Jimmy Carter, maybe, I don't know, but just, we got the book. So
Jimmy Carter was a nut farmer.
give us, he was a nut farmer. So give us what we want.
Harvest that nut.
Give us what we want, or else we are going to tell the world that you came to basically the Jeffrey Epstein house of the day.
All right, let's not put that on these poor folks here. This bit's gone on long enough.
Okay, yeah, all right.
I don't want to say that they're Epsteining,
No, they're not Epsteining things, but they weren't. There was some shit. So
there was some weird stuff, but there's no kids involved or money involved or anything like that.
There was one.
All right, let's get into it.
So, so apparently the pink room things were all consensual. It's all cool, whatever. So,
that's the idea.
Until December 12th, 1982. This is when shit really hit the fan. So when Scudder
and not the usual way in the fan room.
Yep, exactly. Not in the usual. Yeah, exactly. In the pink room where there's a.
Because usually when that happens, it's all consensual, but this time it was unplanned and unwanted.
Planned. Yep, exactly. Unplanned and came to a far bloodier end than anyone.
Well, only slightly bloodier than the usual.
No, it says far, which means that the usual blood was just not as much. So it's pretty crazy. So
the other fluids involved.
Yeah. So
let's get into it.
Yeah. So Scott and Ullman invited into their home for parties and sexual adventures. And 17-year-old Kenneth Avery Brock and his 30-year-old roommate Samuel Tony West, very much sounds like a porn star.
Tony West, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Tony West.
Even Avery Brock does. They both sound like it.
Yep.
I think that an interesting pin to put in this that's going to help us describe like the whole idea around the murder is the fact that Avery Brock this isn't the first time that he met these guys.
No, these people kept coming around.
He knew them and he was already over there before. He went hunting in their property and he knew these guys before, which means he partied with these guys before.
Yeah, because they were cool. Like they gave out free booze and drugs.
When they invited these guys on the night of December 12th to their house, they weren't strangers. They already knew each other.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Tony knew them. I think he did, but I know that Avery did.
Well, Samuel West is the 30-year-old, and Kenneth
Tony.
Brock is 17.
Yeah, but Tony West is what you're talking about. No Samuel.
It says Samuel Tony West, but does he go by Tony on your story?
Oh, so maybe Tony's his middle name. He goes by Tony West in all the things that I've seen.
I mean, would
he
you
called
rather go
himself
by
Tony.
Samuel or Tony? Because I'd probably pick Tony too. So
I'd probably pick Tony also. But either way, I know that they knew Avery Brock, which means he was over there before, which means he probably was hanging out in the pink room, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And he wanted to see what else is up.
Yeah. Yep. So, but he was going there because it was free booze and drugs and good wine too. So
yeah. And along with those two who were invited explicitly to the party came two other individuals who had never visited Corpsewood Manor before and perhaps didn't know what they were getting into and almost certainly had no idea how the night was going to go.
That's right. So what were their names, Joe?
Yes, I have them right here. Their names were Joey Wells, who was actually Tony's nephew. You got to love Georgia. He was a teenager, 17, like you said, almost 18 years old, but still a teenager in high school. And his uncle was 29 years old, Tony. So his uncle was only 12 years older than him. And he said, let's party. So he invites, but also says, we're going. Me and Avery are going to a party tonight, and you're coming too. And Joey goes, well, I have a date tonight. A pretty young lady by the name of Teresa Hudgens, who's by all accounts a homebody, a good Christian girl. She had some friends from school, but she wasn't really going out and going wild there around northern Georgia. She was kind of like a more reserved person. But she really had a big crush on Joey Wells. And when he invited her out for a date, she was more than happy to oblige him on that. And she was not expecting him to show up with his uncle and his buddy who were drinking beers in a truck. And they said, we're going to a party tonight. She thought they were going on a date. But she liked Joey so much. She goes, that peer pressure thing. You like a boy and you're like, oh, what's the worst that can happen? I don't want to be lame and tell him I can't go. I'll go. What kind of party are we going to here? And Tony goes, you'll see.
Yeah. He says basically you'll see. Just you're totally
they didn't explain the full picture to her, and they explained a little bit of the picture to Joey, but they really didn't tell them about the Corpsewood Manor and all the goings on there. I don't think
they said that. And I also just thought they said, oh, there's just some normal stuff.
It's a party.
Total normal party. We're just gonna go there. And they accepted they accepted the doctor's offer of just some nice homemade wine. You usually would. Hey, have a glass. Thanks, man.
Some dinner too. They were making dinner for everybody. It was like a real proper adult.
Well, it's like wine,
party.
Dinner, some huffing mixture, some varnish, some paint thinner.
Yeah, we'll go to the chicken house and we'll see if we can't.
Yeah, we're just gonna start huffing all this stuff and just have some wine. Sounds nice to you, right? Like just go do that and
let's rock.
So, yeah, we're not really sure what there's no real details of like what really pissed off Brock.
Well, what I understand about the tale, which you can correct me if I'm wrong here.
Probably as we go forward. But yeah,
if you want to take the reins for a moment here,
take the reins, man. Take them.
Correct the horse as it goes. So part of the reason why I brought up that Brock had been over there earlier is because he had seen this place and met these guys before, and he knew that. I mean, this particular house, he didn't realize that these guys built it themselves and they took all of their life savings and put it in here as like kind of a retirement plan. He figured, here's two rich guys from Chicago who moved down to Georgia and built a mansion in our one-horse town. These guys have money. And I don't know where they keep it, but they have it. So my buddy here, Tony, and I are going to go in there. We're going to hang out with them, just like I did last time I hung out with them. But this time, they're going to give us the money. And that's going to be that. And it's going to change our lives. It's going to work out for us great. And we're going to come out of this thing rich as Daddy Warbucks. And it'll be none the wiser. And that was their plan going in. They didn't tell that to Joey or Teresa. And it's just some kind of weird 70s, 80s thing of crimes of let's bring around a bunch of extra witnesses and force them into it. And I guess you're hoping that they'll help you or they'll feel obligated to not talk, or just the idea of bringing other random teenagers to do a serious violent crime with you.
Fucking crime, man.
All you're doing is adding more liability. I don't understand that at all. It's such a weird concept. I thought it was mostly in movies, but it happens in real life all the time. Back then, still now, but it's just a weird concept. Let's bring more and more people in. I mean, we know if you don't want to get caught, the less people who know about it, the better. Bringing in two teenagers who are trying to go on a date together is not going to help your chances of robbing these two.
Yeah, like, hey guys, let's just go do something real quick. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and not real quick either. We're going to spend the whole night there. It's a party, you know.
Yeah, and then do this at the like what? There's a level of like just misunderstanding that every normal person has that's just what. So
yeah, so they get to the house.
Yep.
Joseph is making dinner. By all accounts, he's more of a quiet guy. He's less of the host, less of the party animal kind of dude. He still likes to party, but he's more of like the reserved guy, and Charles is more of like the host, the entertainer kind of guy. So he's having them over. They go to the chicken house. They're having some homemade wine. You know, they're having some fun. And Teresa's a little uncomfortable because not only does she not know this how the night's gonna go, she's also knows she's in the middle of nowhere with basically what do you say, five strangers.
Yeah,
she doesn't even barely know Joey who she's on the date with, never mind his uncle, his friend, and then these two married gay couple in the woods. I mean, she's feeling very uncomfortable, and then she's in a gothic castle and they're offering her wine. She didn't even drink. She's not used to this at all.
Yeah.
So at some point in the night, as dinner's being prepared, though the homemade wine runs out, their batches are cleaned up. They must have had a lot of parties recently. And Tony suggests to Avery, why don't you go to the truck and get some more beer? We have beer in the truck. And Charles was like, oh, that's great. That way we won't run out of drinks. We can keep having a good time. The dinner should be ready soon. And that's that. And
they know that this is, go on.
So then Avery goes out to the truck to get the beer, and they keep chitter chattering. And Teresa, who's this whole entire time is trying to leave the situation. Everything in her body is telling her, get out of here.
It's bad news. Yep.
She realizes that Avery's been gone for way too long. Why does it take so long to get beer from the truck and just come back? And then that's when all hell starts to break loose, as far as we know in this story here.
Yeah. Avery comes back in and he shoots the two dogs.
Yep.
Real bad sign. Just gonna put that out there.
Right. And also just for the just picturing the locations of the event, the dogs and Joseph are in the main house and they're in the chicken house, so it's a little bit separate. So they were undoubtedly hear the gunshots, but they wouldn't be in the same like room as that happening.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty fucked up, and shoots the dogs and shoots Odom. And from my understanding is that there's like the motive is nothing to do with anything we've ever told you so far, besides what you said a minute ago.
Yeah, no, the motive I think is is they want to get their money.
Yeah.
They
like,
want to.
They're robbing. I'm going to go to this castle, this gothic satanic castle in the woods for money. Like, you have it coming. Like, that's no matter what. That's just not a good idea. Like, I'm going to go rob these people in the middle of the woods who like what the fuck? Like these hick ass fucking racist piece of shits. Go there and snuff all these people's fucking paint thinner and drink all their wine and then decide to go kill them or kill one of them, then say, give us all your money. And then, then as Joe, what happens?
I think it's definitely one of the, it's like a nice new Winnebago rolling through a trailer park where it's not the matter of you hating them. It's that you have nothing and you're like, this could be my opportunity to be rich. So I'm just going to put all my chips in this dumb egg basket and hope it catches out. I think that a couple of morons would think, and that's how it plays out for them. But yeah, I mean, Tony brought a handgun with him, so as soon as those gunshots go off, he knows the game's on, and he puts the gun to Charles and says, "All right, show's over. Where's the money? I know you got money." And Charles is like, "I'll play the game, but I told you already. you're gonna be disappointed. We spent all the money building this giant castle in
Yeah.
Georgia. I don't have any money. We
Yeah.
make our own wine. We have cans of SpaghettiOs. I don't know what do you think where there's money.
Yeah.
Doesn't believe him though.
Nope, doesn't believe him. So he unfortunately shoots him in the head 5 times in front of a painting that has.
But not before tying him up and gagging him and bringing him right to where that painting is. Strangely enough.
Yep, exactly. So did that and shot him in the head 5 times. I mean, that is just not cool for like just a
also
robbery.
Charles. He brought Charles to Joseph, and then Teresa and him and Joey all saw Joseph dead, and then he said, "You think we're joking around? Now tell us where the money is." So he had to, see his partner bleeding out, which must have been terrible to see, and also knowing full well there's no money there, so he doesn't even have anything to offer this guy. He just trying to plead with him and say, "Why are you doing this? We don't have any money. Why did you shoot him?" And then they just, I guess he just figured, well, if this guy really won't tell me, I really can't leave him here anyways. And I don't know, the 5 times though just seems so excessive.
Yeah, it does. And they went to that house before all this stuff happened. So I'm just wondering if they were like, these guys were secretly gay, and then in their sober life, they're like, we're really not. We feel like we're mad, like we're gonna kill these people or whatever it was. Like I feel like there's just more to this story.
Now I think you're on to something there.
Yeah, so that because to shoot someone 5 times in the head and then do this and then decide
that what you would call,
them.
Because you're mixing up in like criminal pathology or psychology as well.
Acts of passion versus
a crime of passion versus a robbery, right?
Yeah. So I think it was probably a crime of passion they tried to cover up as a robbery, or get both at the same time, because there's no way that
I think it was both.
These 2 guys are just trying to live their life and everything's consensual the whole time and no one gives a fuck. It's all good. But if these 2 people got themselves in a position where they have regret or are hiding their own egos or identities or true selves or whatever it was, then they went back there to go kill them.
I think that's certainly what it, and we'll get into it. But let's finish the tale first before we speculate on what we think actually went down. Is that after that happened, they go search throughout the house. They leave the painting of Charles with the 5 bullet holes, which is strange because that almost seems like evidence at that point. Because it's like he had precognition, like Nostradamus or something, to be like, oh yeah, this is how he died. It's right here on the wall. But they take a couple, whatever they think is valuable belongings, along with that the LSD that they had at the place, thinking, well, that's worth something. Probably the most valuable possession they had, not sentimental wise. And after Teresa at one point had already run out of the house, they sent Joey after her saying, if you don't find her, don't come back. And he goes and finds her and brings her back. And this whole time she's not wanting to be involved and she wants to go tell the police and wants to get out of there. But they actually end up basically kidnapping her because they know that if she leaves, she's going to tell somebody. So they held her for a couple of days after the crime and after they left the scene completely at, I think, his aunt's house. So maybe Tony's mom's house.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then it looks like after that they drove to Mississippi. Did you get that part?
Yeah, so they stole Charles's Jeep from the mansion, which means one of them must have taken the truck back and one of them must have taken Charles' Jeep back to his mom's house there. And they go and flee the state. And meanwhile, as we talked about in the beginning, their friend has showed up and has seen this horrible scene. Gets the police involved. The police have no leads, no idea where it's going. And these guys are on the lam. They're going to Mississippi. But in the meantime, Teresa makes a break for it. And she goes right to the police, luckily for everyone involved. And that gets them the best witness you could ever want in a case like this. Usually, if it gets this brutal and this, clean cut, there's no version of a witness that's completely compliant with the police and wants to say everything that happened, just showing up at their doorstep. It's a cold case. And she goes, I'll tell you everything that happened. I know all the names. I know all the events. I was there for the whole thing. So the police obviously feel terrible for her, but they couldn't be more happy about this person being involved.
Yeah.
As well as at that point, Joey Wells, who was definitely they figured he wasn't going to rat on them because they had no worries about him. But as soon as Teresa comes forward and the police get involved, he folds too, which means you have two witnesses to the whole event, just straight up saying the whole thing, what happened bit by bit. And these two guys now they're screwed. They're going to get arrested.
Yeah, they're fucked. So,
but not before fleeing to Mississippi.
But it's such a classic fucking dirtbag move. Like, speaking of Avery, like, what was that Wisconsin? It was on Netflix, and it was like this murder mystery of this guy who got framed for a murder. His name was Avery. His last name was Avery.
Stephen Avery.
Stephen Avery. Like, he's the best. It's almost like the name is just fucking synonymous with like dumb fucking hick who killed somebody. Like, these people, like the Avery fucking family, man. Like, whether they're in this story or that one,
right? But his last name is Brock, though, so you can't really
Avery Brock. Sorry, yeah, but Avery.
But still, Avery. Yeah,
it's just you're just like it's just literally like you're a dumb hick. Like, I'm not saying you're from Wisconsin or Georgia, which in this case both of them were, but like you're somewhere there who's just too stupid to even know the difference. Like, let's go get drunk, huff a bunch of fucking paint thinner, and then go kill two people, then go flee to Mississippi after we brought witnesses with us who were on a date to go like and then just didn't think through one part of this entire thing besides put a rifle in a truck bed.
Exactly.
You know, like,
that was the full plan.
That's the plan. Just put the fucking thing in there, and then just when you're ready, just come in and kill people, and then we're gonna get away with this and be rich.
Yep. That'll be it.
Yeah, dumb fucking racist hick ass bitch.
It's like the underwear gnomes from South Park. It's step 1, put a rifle in a bed. Step 2, question mark. Step 3, profit. They missed the middle part, which is all the actual plan.
Yeah, they missed all that stuff, and it's just even funnier. It's like if you go to a really anyone who's super unique like these folks, you know, you're probably not going to get away with it because everyone's got their eyes on them anyway. And it's a unique place, unique house, unique situation. It's not the right people to rob. Like, you're just strictly going for this to just rob people, or like we said, get vengeance or whatever.
Even if they did have a bunch
fine.
of money stashed away, it would still be a bad idea. But turns out that you didn't have money there, so you're really doing it for even worse reasons than you started out.
Yeah, and even if they had a load of cash, you think that you'd be able to find it in a house like that?
Well, I think you're hoping if they murdered his boyfriend that he might spill the beans on that.
Yeah.
But he had no beans to spill. His beans are all where the sun don't shine.
That's true. Yeah.
But anyways, when they're in Mississippi, they stop at a rest stop to switch cars, and they end up murdering a Navy officer coming home for Christmas, which is not going to help the jury pool any more than you already have.
No. Yeah, classic move from these guys. I mean, right down their realm of
good money after bad. They already have done something they're not going to get away with, and they put the cherry on top, which is murdering a Navy officer on his way home for Christmas to see his family. The jury is already, they're putting the noose up before the trial even starts at this point.
Yeah.
You're not.
You just, I mean, you really can't even dig your hole any deeper, and they just still somehow found a way to sharpen the shovel. I mean,
they really did. Yeah, they hired a steam shovel. They really want that hole dug deep.
Yeah, it's bad news. So
anyways, they actually end up splitting up after that event.
Yeah.
And Tony West heads towards Tennessee, and Avery Brock heads back
Georgia.
home.
Yep. He went back to Georgia on December 20th. So West went to Chattanooga, like you said. Avery Brock went to Georgia, and on the 20th, Brock turned himself into police, and West did the same 5 days later on Christmas.
On Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And we didn't even plan this for the podcast. It just turned out that this is the exact time of year where these events occurred.
Yeah, wasn't even planned, but not a mystery, but their motives still sort of are. But but just so you guys know, I mean, these aren't killers on the loose and whatever it is. They turn themselves in, as you heard. And West was found guilty of 2 counts of murder, and he was sentenced to death. And Brock was also pleaded guilty, and he received 3 consecutive life terms, which became the end of a strange and bloody story of the Corpsewood Manor murders.
Yeah. Interesting too, because usually when you turn yourself into police, nowadays you basically automatically get the death sentence taken off the table because they consider that pleading guilty.
Really?
In
Is
a
that how
way.
that works?
I wouldn't say that automatically, but usually you can negotiate that off the table because they didn't have to come after you. So they can say, well, if I can kind of, see myself through here, they might negotiate that part of it. But, there was just no way they wanted it. I'm sure they wanted them both dead, but Brock must have kind of talked his way into whatever else. I mean, life is no joke either, but I'm
Yeah.
picturing Georgia at this time after all these crimes, they should both probably be dead by now, surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. I would think that they're probably dead at this point. You're probably right about that. So
Even before they killed that Navy officer, that's just signing your death warrant right there.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. So
You might as well shoot the
those two
judge's
guys.
daughter if you want to die that bad. You might as well shoot the judge's daughter if you want to die that badly. I mean, you're basically just going to
Not
bat into hell.
Yep. Not looking good for you. So
there the story ends.
There's the story end.
Joey Wells never did any time for being a witness, and Teresa Hudgens not only was not culpable for the crime, she was the key witness, and you got to give it up for her for getting out of that situation, surviving it, and telling her tale, because when she went to the police, she didn't know where Avery and Tony were. They could have been pretty close by, and she could have been as good as dead within the time before they even put them in custody. If it wasn't for those guys turning themselves in and Teresa talking about the whole crime, the police might still be looking for them, and Teresa might be dead.
Yeah, exactly. And she's lucky to get her alive, which is awesome. So,
but I'm glad she did, because we might never solve this mystery.
Yeah, and this would have been on the Dylan Joe Basin podcast Unsolved Mysteries episode, but it's not. It's on the Solved Mysteries thing. But this does segue into the more coming episodes of solved and unsolved mysteries, because we haven't touched upon these a whole lot yet.
They are a lot of fun though. Well, Dylan's really scared of like people dying and death and stuff like that, and I'm not, so I'm glad he's leaning into the true crime shit, because it's really fun to talk about. It's really fucking brutal.
I agree. Thank you, Joe, for easing
I
up
sandbag you and compliment you at the same time,
fluffing my feathers on that one. So time to quick breakdowns of what we think. So
well, that's a little segment I like to call Final Thoughts.
Final Thoughts. Since I already did share mine a little bit, I think there's more.
Yeah, what do you
story
think?
That really just no one's ever gonna know. I think that these two dudes, West and Brock, were fucked up hicks who were just pieces of shit, but they also really enjoyed their time with these two dudes who went above and beyond to make sure everyone had a good time. And
Absolutely.
And they really went to town with a good time, and then found out that they're both actually gay in a time where it's hard to be a gay person. And then they resented themselves and hated themselves for who they truly are, and then decided to take revenge on two dudes who were just they went a little hardcore with the drugs and stuff, but they decided that they wanted to just enjoy their time in the wilderness and keep themselves, but also not. But these two guys went back there and said, well, we did these things and we're going to kill them for it. And I think that's what actually ended up happening, unfortunately.
I hear you.
Because they're just weak losers who weren't, like comfortable with themselves and embarrassed or whatever it was, but that's what they did.
For sure. I think that it is a combination of both, but I think that more of it's that combination of crime of passion versus the opportunity to rob somebody. I think that Avery was going around there hunting, and they invited him over, had a couple glasses of homemade wine. He had a little bit of fun, a little bit of friendship, and he realized when he went home that his dad was going to be ashamed of him and he hated who he was because of sexuality, and said, oh, well, these guys are now my enemies. They're not my friends anymore, because he's had that internal idea of it. I'm not sure how involved Tony was with the partying. Maybe he was involved with that too. He seems very likely. But I think they both devised a plan that they're going to rob these guys out of the opportunity of gaining money. I don't think that they went there just to murder them because they were mad at them. I think they wanted the money more. But when they got there, they didn't feel bad about robbing them because they hated these people for what they showed about themselves to them.
Yeah.
Which is totally against the ideas of what we think nowadays, and also what those guys thought. They were like, hey, come over here, have fun. We're not going to tell anybody. We're just having a good, it's all consenting adults, whatever we want to do. We're not going to go to your house and tell your grandma what happened here. That's not what we're about here at Corpsewood Manor. But these guys, they brought that home with them. And I think that's what describes those 5 shots to his head, is that crime of passion, where they were so mad at those guys for showing them a good time and what the world can really be about, because they're so ashamed of it. And I think that they brought that to the authorities, and they hoped that they could look upon the community and say, well, why do you feel bad about these guys? They were Satan worshipers. They were gay. They did drugs. They were bad people. And as far as I'm concerned, I took 2 bad MFers off the face of the earth. And one of them even said, as far as I'm concerned, they were devils and I killed the devil. And I think that they mostly used that as leverage to try to defend themselves in that time. And they hope that the community would get behind them. And I think to a lot of reality, the community did get behind them. And a lot of people probably did think these guys were terrible creeps in the woods, and they didn't approve of what they thought or who they were. But unfortunately for both of them, Teresa Hudgens was there, and she saw the whole thing. And she was a regular good old girl and from Georgia. And I think if she wasn't there, the case would be a lot more cloudy, and they might even have a chance of telling their own story about how these 2 creepy guys from Chicago took them into their satanic cult, and they had to do it just to defend themselves. But unfortunately, they brought around a witness that everyone loved and respected. And she also respected these guys, because I watched an interview from the 2000s recently from Teresa Hudgens, and she said that when they were both, her and Charles were both tied up because she tried to run away. And during the whole event, when they were trying to rob Charles, he looked over at her and he said, "Are you okay?" He was concerned because he knew she was nervous, and he knew it was a scary thing. And she looked over him and she asked if she was okay. And she says even to this day, she still remembers that. And she thinks that he was a genuinely lovely human being who didn't deserve any of it. And unfortunately, even in Georgia in 1982, the court's not going to hold up against that. Also, you killed a Navy officer. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for the case.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I agree. Yeah, they were, there's no doubt that these were dark. 2 dudes who are probably kind of dark. I mean, hence the paintings and the gargoyles.
Yeah.
And
But that doesn't necessarily mean they're bad people. I mean, creepy and weird taste doesn't mean you're a bad person. I mean, these guys never had one violent tendency in their whole life. And then two hicks come in there and they shoot up the place. That's real darkness, you know?
Yep.
You could have paintings of demons or weird kinky stuff or whatever, but just because you have a gun and you're wearing a trucker hat doesn't make you a better person just because you're not weird. I think that's what it comes down to for me. Real darkness isn't paintings and ideas, it's actions.
Yeah, and one of the craziest things is down to haunted houses. It looks like Corpsewood Manor is still there, but it's in despair big time.
Well, it was burned down, so all the bricks are still there, but the wood is gone.
That's what I'm saying. So you can see it's like there's a big part of the whole foundation's there,
right?
And a lot of things, but it's like if you want to go to a place that had portals of things we talked about in the past where doors were probably open there, but Satan guarded the front lawn with the other 2 dogs. If you want to go to a place that's probably got some really tainted energy, this is a real good start.
Oh yeah,
to the remnants of Corpsewood Manor in Georgia. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of it. Almost all of it is still there, and it's just very, staircase in the woods type of environment. It's pretty wild. Yeah.
Like I said, I don't really believe in hauntings or ghosts, but if you want to take me up to Corpsewood Manor in the middle of nowhere, Georgia,
where there were murders and
and gargoyles and demonic stuff. I mean,
And demonic
I still wouldn't want to
rituals.
go. I don't even
It's-
believe in that stuff, and I'd still be scared to go out.
Yeah, so I do, and I will definitely be scared of those. You've got two brutal murders, satanic cults, and other things like, there's if there's anywhere in this country that's got something going on here. So you go to Gettysburg, you've got sadness, and you've got some souls that might be stuck at the place of death.
There's thousands more. If there's anyone
Well,
should be haunted, it should be Gettysburg.
No, I know they're there, but this is like
Thousands and thousands of
that-
people
this energy
violently
wasn't
killed.
welcome there. It was just like a lot of sadness and premature death and anger
Sure.
and suffering and that type of stuff. This is like a bunch of portals opened mixed with murders. It's real weird place,
Certainly.
real weird place. So that's the Corpsewood Manor murders
Mm-hmm.
from the Dylan
Episode
Joe.
number something 44, maybe.
44 or 46.
Definitely one of the two. I think it's
Definitely not 45, which means it's probably episode 45. Yeah.
44.
Dylan Joe Basin Podcast. And we will, as always, see you guys sometime next week. Christmas is coming up. Things could be tight, but we're looking pretty good.
And may your two bull mastiffs always guard you at night. And don't be afraid of having your friends over for a little bit of homemade wine. Not everyone can be trusted, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't trust anyone.
Yeah, exactly. And go do yourselves a favor and look at all these folks. They look nice, our friends with their dogs, like they look like typical people who were just, in the wrong place, the wrong time, aka born in this fucking 70s, and it was a hard time to be them. So, yeah, you guys enjoy your mid-Decembers, and we'll talk to you soon.
Ease in, folks.
Peace out, folks. We just covered up gargoyles and endless repairs and
Yeah, do you want to get to the murders? Let's get to the murders.
yeah, let's get to the murders. So before we get to the murders with a D, not a B.
We're still not back yet, though. Let me know when you want to start it up.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, we're back. He was a professor of pharmacology at Loyola.
Gotcha. Yeah, I knew he had to do with.
And for those who don't know, that's
Substances.
the study of animals. And like we said,
You could also maybe
earlier-
call it a cockhouse.
also, yeah,
It'd be so scary and cold to take a shit on there, but there might be a little bit of satisfying part about you, kind of like when you throw a pebble down like
Exactly.
a dark
What I'm thinking.
hole where you're like, how far does it go? And then you can just hear the
Yeah.
off the sides all the way down.
Or you hear something more satisfying than that. Like, I mean, you literally poop and you feel it detach from your body, and then you like 10 stories, 15 stories. I mean, that could be a couple seconds.
Yeah, it's like when you hear thunder and you count the seconds.
Yeah. So that sounds like a lot of fun. So what my point here is I'm saying that Charles and Joseph built a house out of bricks, and Dr. Charles Scudder said they wanted to extend their property, and they also wanted to run for Senate, and they said, hey, George.
Grease some wheels for us, George.
Yeah.
We greased yours.
Yeah.